Too frequently with NBA Summer League, we get caught up in the efficiency numbers and the counting stats and even the wins. While those things are all great to have and they can show real progression for some players, that's not the whole point of Summer League. The point of Summer League, especially with rookies, is to figure out if guys got it. What else do they have in their game that they weren't necessarily allowed to show in college or their previous setting? Do they have more? Is there extra stuff lurking beneath the surface? And how do they react when they're put into different situations with new teammates and kind of forced to fail or grow? And that is exactly what the San Antonio Spurs are doing with their first round pick, Stephon Castle. Coming into the draft, all of the talk surrounding Castle was first the shot, and also whether or not he was a point guard. And honestly, I don't care. I don't care what position he is because none of that really matters in today's NBA. It doesn't. What I do care about is whether or not Castle is going to be put in position to be one of the primary decision makers. And so far, it's looking like he has that and then some. At UConn, Castle was put in mostly an off-ball role until later in the season as he kind of slowly progressed and gained more on-ball responsibilities. However, in high school, he was pretty much the lead initiator, whether you want to call him a point forward, or a jumbo wing creator, or just a point guard. It doesn't really matter to me because the point is that he had the ball a lot and was making most of the decisions for his teams. That changed a lot in college, and Castle had to adapt his game to be on a contending team and a repeat back-to-back NCAA champion, and he did. And all credit to him for continuously showing his supreme versatility on both ends of the floor and his ability to contribute to winning basketball. But if you're going to be a top 5 pick, if you're going to be one of the franchise kind of building blocks alongside Victor Wembanyama, you have to be more than that. And the Spurs are really stress testing him and trying to figure out whether or not he has that upside to be a primary decision maker. It's looking good so far. Now I know. It's NBA Summer League, and we're not drawing wild conclusions off of it, but they are breadcrumbs for us to take into the season and even going forward. Now, the big thing with Castle was, and one of the main things when it comes to being that lead ball handler, to being a primary or secondary decision maker, is just pick and roll volume. It is one of the simplest sets to run or actions to run, and also one of the most common. During his time with Atlanta Express in AAU, Castle was a pick and roll ball handler on 23.5% of his possessions. With his high school team, the Newton Rams in Georgia, that number was 24.7%. With UConn, we saw a substantial drop-off as he only 18.6% of his possessions came as the pick-and-roll ball handler. Now, I know it's only 2 games, but we've seen that number essentially double as he is running the pick-and-roll 37.8% of his possessions. Again, small sample, but the intent by the Spurs here is very clear. That 37.8% frequency is more than double his next most frequent possession type. The Spurs are looking to see, is Castle a point guard? Can he be that lead decision maker? Can he initiate the offense? Can he be consistently getting the offense into the spots that they need to get to, set up teammates, get to his own spots, and get efficient looks? And so far, it's been really, really promising. Now, Castle's counting stats have been solid as he's been in double-figure scoring both games and has a total of 8 assists and just 2 turnovers. Solid. It's really encouraging stuff. But as we're going to see in the film a little later, the 3 assists that he had against Charlotte kind of do a disservice to some of the passing stuff. The 5 assists he had against Team China, really impressive stuff. Additionally, it'll be a little later in the video and not entirely the focus of it, but the shooting numbers are bad. They're bad. Poor efficiency. Effective field goal rate under 42% in both games. And he's only 2 for 10 from 3. So the shooting concerns are still there, but they're supposed to be. If you expected him to completely overhaul his shot and turn into this highly efficient shooter in the 2 weeks since the draft, then I don't know what to tell you. But what is encouraging is the volume. 6 attempts against China, 4 attempts against Charlotte. The fact that he's willing to take them that many times a game is really promising, and they've been good looks for the most part. It'll get there, but having that confidence, as we'll see, changes everything. So, is Stephon Castle a point guard? I don't care. But what the Spurs are continuously showing us is that they care if he can be a main decision maker. And so far, things are trending in the right direction. It's only Summer League, but the 2 games that we've gotten from Stephon Castle are really, really encouraging for the type of player that he can continue to grow into, especially around guys like Victor Wembanyama and Devin Vassell. Let's dive in, take a look at how, mainly in that first game against Charlotte, of how he navigated the pick and roll, created for others, and then even got his own shot. I'm Tyler Metcalf. Welcome to Film School. Let's dive in. All right, the main focus of this video, and the bulk of it, and especially the next handful of minutes, are going to be on Castle's pick and roll progression. It's not all going to be good, but I want to go chronologically here to see how he develops and adjusts and improves throughout this first game. So right off the bat here, I believe this was their first possession. Castle runs off the screen, and this is how we can kind of envision him being used as a secondary creator, where he starts off ball, runs off some action, and Chris Paul then circles out, or Devin Vassell circles out, and now he's running this pick and roll with Victor Wembanyama. It's a little different when you substitute, some of the NBA guys in, but you get the point. So right off the bat here, first possession of the game, Castle comes out aggressive, comes tight off the screen, and immediately reads that the drop defender is very deep in the drop, something Castle's used to seeing given his historical shooting struggles. As Castle kind of now gets into all of this space, Nick Smith Jr. has been taken completely out of the play, and they're in a 2v1 situation, so he's just reading the drop defender here. As Castle continues to attack, help defenders stay home. He stays home. Drop defender is in the paint. Roller gets a pretty aggressive tag from the now weak side defender. And Castle doesn't really have anywhere in terms of playmaking, and he just kind of accelerates, absorbs the contact, throws up a shot. It's not great. It's not a good look. It's rushed. It's impatient. But at least he's willing to be physical. He's not scared of the contact. He's looking to draw a foul there. So intentions are okay. They're fine. But the execution here is really poor because he feels rushed. And first possession of, his first game wearing a Spurs jersey, understandable. But starting out this way, heavily contested shot at the rim, not a great way to get things going. Thankfully, Castle kind of adjusts and slows down mentally pretty quickly here. So again, we see him kind of set up in an off-ball roll, and it'd be great if he let that fly, but he's just going to flow into a little pick and roll here and create a wide open look for his teammate. Now, this isn't anything crazy or any major manipulation going on by Castle here, but it's a testament to his decision making and just kind of quick processing speed. So again, as he sets up over here, imagine Devin Vassell, Victor Wembanyama, Chris Paul, Keldon Johnson initiating on the wing over here, and then having Castle as that secondary creator, decision maker on the weak side. So ball's going to get flared out to him. It'd be great if he just let this fly, but that hesitation that we talked about all season with him at UConn in terms of shooting, it popped up again earlier in this video. We'll see it again to a worse degree. But eventually the shot has to go up. But alas, he backs it out, calls for the screen. Again, solid screen, dribbles off it. His defender's now out of the play. Since Castle was so aggressive at getting downhill in that previous clip, just a few possessions before, The help defender is a little more aggressive at kind of playing the gap here, trying to disrupt Castle's drive, trying to help out his drop defender a little more so he's not facing a purely 2v1 situation. Additionally, not an awesome shooter out here on the wing, but Castle continues to probe and gets the help defender to fully commit here, gets him to overcommit, leaves his feet, and just makes the right read, just makes a simple, quick pass out to his teammate on the wing. NBA shooters are going to let that fly immediately all day long. That should be a wide open look. Shooter hesitates, fakes a pass. He has no confidence now. Shot doesn't go in, but everything Castle does here, aside from passing up the open three, is correct. It's simple. It's playing within himself and making life easier for his teammates by getting them wide open looks. Again, Castle shows off that ability to collapse the defense and just counter their secondary and help rotations because of his aggressiveness and passing vision. So Castle didn't directly lead to this open shot, but again, he's initiating the offense here, gets a high screen, solid screen. He dribbles off it tightly. His man is now out of the play. Castle has all this space to attack downhill, and we see him attack with a little bit more craft and patience than in that first clip where he just barreled into the drop defender. Instead, as Castle gets downhill, a little change of pace, changes direction a little bit, still hasn't created any space, but that change of direction back towards the right side of the lane has now also attracted an aggressive help from the corner defender, who is now sagging off really aggressively that corner shooter. Castle obviously knows that the drop defender's contesting a shot. He obviously sees that the help defender is rotated on him, and he feels his initial defender has caught up to him. So he knows that he's in the middle of the paint with 3 defenders on him, and that his teammate is over here in the corner. A little off balance. Accuracy isn't ideal, but he gets it out to him in time. And again, NBA shooter is letting that fly. That's a wide open corner 3 look in an NBA setting. Shot doesn't go up. Shot fake. He attacks a closeout. Teammate is cutting into his drive. Not ideal spacing here, but this is what happens in the first Summer League game with guys who haven't really played together. But if he would have stayed out here on the wing, he would have had an even more wide open 3. And all of that is generated by Castle's ability to generate space right off the bat, dribbling off the screen, collapsing the defense, and then finding teammates in those off-ball rolls. Good process, unfortunately poor result. Now, a common theme I'm sure that you may have started noticing is how aggressively deep this drop defender is going and how often they're leaving this floater range kind of open and available to Castle. Now, he didn't take a ton of them at UConn, but on the ones he did take, Castle ranked in the 67th percentile on floaters. So he has a decent kind of in-between game option to go along with his physicality at the rim and the playmaking. And these are the types of looks he has to kind of continue to look for, especially if defenses are going to be this aggressive in their drop coverage. Again, Castle comes off the screen, help defenders kind of digging in a little bit more, but not fully committing like we saw 2 clips ago where Castle sprayed it out. Instead, he kind of stunts at him. Castle's really patient, maintains his dribble, keeps probing that space. Just a little peek over his shoulder. Let me back up. A little peek over his shoulder here. Sees that his man is yet again completely taken out by the screen. Another common theme in these clips. Refocuses his attention back on this drop defender. Sees that he's back by the restricted area again. He knows help defenders staying home or close enough where closeout is easy for him and his teammate wouldn't have an open shot. So he takes what the defense gives him and gets off an open look. Now, it's not the cleanest of makes, but it's a make. And it's a testament to his soft touch and his ability to kind of score in that in-between range and just process so many of his different options out of the pick and roll. So far, we've mostly seen Castle just reading and reacting and just kind of playing within himself and taking what the defense gives him. But this one, we get a little better example of his understanding of the situation, mismatches, and then manipulation of weak side defenders. So, right off the start here, Castle sees that his teammate has the opposing point guard. I believe that's Xavier Simpson on him, so he knows that's a mismatch. Castle wants that mismatch. So he calls for the screen, and as the screen comes, Charlotte doesn't properly switch this. Simpson was looking for a switch, and one doesn't come, so now he has to scamper up um, in recovery to get back in the play. Castle immediately comes off the screen, now attacking the opposing point guard, who is now in drop coverage. As he gets that switch, Simpson's done a good job of kind of catching up and getting to relatively the level, and Castle slams on the brakes to put Nick Smith in jail here. As he does so, he has the strength to hold Nick Smith off, which gives his teammate a little more space to roll, while also attracting the switch of Xavier Simpson. The key here is how does Castle get rid of the help defender in the paint to free up his teammate rolling to the rim. As he pivots back, Castle's going to look out to his teammate on the wing, and it moves this help defender just enough. He just catches him leaning before delivering this pass over Simpson. He has the size advantage on Simpson, so he can see over and deliver this pass. But that little look off right there just gets that help defender leaning out towards the perimeter and creates enough of a window for Castle to deliver this pass to his teammate rolling to the rim. This should be a dunk or a layup. Recovering defender does a decent job of kind of breaking it up a little bit, delaying the shot, and the help defender gets back into the play. But the passing accuracy here and just some of the subtle manipulation and patience from Castle to move that help defender is really, really impressive stuff for someone who we're not totally sure is a point guard, but can he be a secondary decision maker and facilitator? Stuff like this suggests yes. So we've seen Castle drive and kick and get to his floater, get to the rim, and even pass from the perimeter to his roller. But on this one, we see him attack aggressively and show off some of his interior passing skills. So as Castle kind of pushes here, he goes early. He goes really early in the clock here, and it's because he sees something that he likes. As he's bringing the ball up, he sees that Nick Smith continuously is peeking over his right shoulder. He's looking for a screen from this direction, and Castle knows that they're about to run a horn set and that his teammate over here on the right side is already set up to initiate this screen. So Castle just goes. He sees that Nick Smith is leaning the other way. He's trying to force Castle to his left. He's looking this direction, and Castle's like, nope, I'm going where I want to go, and you're occupied with something that you shouldn't be, so I'm going to make you pay for it. So he attacks quickly, gets downhill, and Smith does an okay job of kind of getting over the screen, but since the drop is so aggressive and Castle's attacking with space, he has all of this room to kind of continue to attack. And again, Castle's really, really strong. So even though Smith kind of gets back in the play here, he doesn't have the strength to get back rimside and really deter Castle. Castle shrugs him off here and is able to elevate and attack downhill. By elevating here, he gets the drop defender to jump with him, and it's outside the restricted area. At that same time, he's looking at this weak side, sees the weak side defender not in the paint because he's worried about the shooter. Castle knows that he has both defenders on him, changes his release angle. He has no intention of ever shooting this ball. Once he got to the free throw line, his entire goal was to create for his teammate, and that is what he's done by attracting both defenders, changing his release point, and dumping it off to his teammate for a wide open, easy dunk. And it's all because Castle is decisive, patient, and really creative and physical in the paint. We'll get back to Castle's kind of pick and roll operation and playmaking stuff again in just a couple clips, but I wanted to make sure that we stay kind of chronological here so we can continue seeing some of the in-game developments and mentality shifts from Castle, um, and specifically with his shooting. So we know that Castle isn't a good shooter right now, but as I outlined in a previous video, there aren't any glaring mechanical issues. It's more of a confidence thing. And we saw him pass up open threes a lot at UConn, and this one was really, really irritating because it's the same thing where offensive rebound, really good job by his teammate to secure that rebound. All 5 defenders are below the free throw line, gets kicked out. This shot has to go up. It's a wide open 3, top of the arc. This is routine stuff. This is basically an empty gym jumper for Castle. He should be at least taking this, if not knocking this down, every single time. Unfortunately, he hesitates and passes it up. He doesn't take the shot, and that's the biggest concern for me when it comes to his shooting is this lack of confidence and just not taking these open shots. So he hesitates, shot fakes. Defender does a really good job here of closing out short. He knows the scouting report. He knows that Castle is a hesitant shooter, so he doesn't have to fly by. The threat of that shot fake by Castle here is non-existent because defenders know that they don't have to fly by. They don't have to heavily contest because he's already in his head about it. And it's exacerbated by traveling. The hesitation leads into not only passing up a wide open 3, but it creates a turnover. Now, I like the intention here of trying to kick out to his teammate who's wide open in the corner. That's solid. But I only like that kick out if this defender is flying by and really closing out on him, and Castle has a legitimate opportunity to attack the closeout here. He doesn't. Instead, he hesitates, he travels, he drives directly into a defender, and he makes the right read, but the opportunity is already passed, and that's the really kind of concerning stuff when it comes to Castle's shooting projection. Thankfully, that mentality didn't really persist with Castle throughout this game. He ended up 2 of 4 from 3 on this game and 0 of 6 against Team China. 0 of 6, not great, but I love that 6 number. I love him taking 6 attempts, even though none of them went in. A couple of them were kind of last-second heaves, grenades that he got thrown, but averaging 5 3-point attempts in these first 2 games for him, that's what we want to see. And the hesitation that we saw in the previous clip doesn't even come close to this clip. So again, Castle's in an off-ball role. He's in a role that he typically was in at UConn and will probably be in a lot as a rookie with the Spurs. And his questionable shooting also has led to this help defender being really aggressive and sinking below the free throw line because he's not really that worried about Castle. That's probably going to be the case a lot in his rookie year because teams are going to know that he's not a quote-unquote shooter and that he's hesitant. So when Victor Wembanyama rolls to the rim, they can really help aggressively on that because they know, or they're at least going to treat him as a non-threat until he makes them do otherwise. Point guard here just makes the right read, kicks it out to Castle. This is deep. That's an NBA line. He's at the logo. No hesitation. Clock is running a little low, but there's still 8 seconds left, 7-8 seconds left. That's a lot of time to do something else. Instead, Castle confidently rises into a shot and knocks it down. This is the type of stuff that we want to see from him going forward. Even if the percentages aren't fantastic, just being this confident and taking these threes is going to open up so much else for his game. So the missing piece in all of the pick and roll stuff that we've seen from Castle in this game is just the lack of shooting. We saw the playmaking, we saw the interior scoring, but we haven't seen the shooting until now. And when we look at the clock, this is him just continuing to build on that confidence and that processing and recognition out of the pick and roll and putting it all together. The confidence from that spot up 3, that logo 3 we just saw at the end of the second quarter, feeds into his ability to read the pick and roll, to read the drop defender, to read what his defender is doing against the screen, piece it all together, and just take what the defense gives him for a really high quality look. So as Castle is kind of initiating the offense here, they're just going to run an extended horns. So just two screeners, pick and roll. Castle gets to pick which direction he wants to go, and then they just kind of go out of that. So Castle's going to attack to his left. He gets kind of Nick Smith turning quite a bit here early. Smith is yet again kind of peeking over his shoulder, being wary and concerned about the screens, and Castle immediately recognizes it, just attacks his high foot, attacks against his momentum, which causes Smith to be in a really poor spot. Never good when you're turning your back to the ball handler. And coming off the screen, Smith just kind of frantically goes way under, like most defenders will against Castle and have and did throughout all of last season. But Smith kind of follows suit as he frantically looks to recover. As Castle is coming off the screen, he sees that the drop defender is dropping below the free throw line before Castle is even hit the three-point line. Acres of space here. Again, another look that he's going to see more often than not until he forces defenders to not guard him this way. Like we saw in that catch and shoot, and every single pick and roll, almost every single pick and roll clip before this, Castle just takes what is given to him out of this action, steps into the pull-up three, essentially wide open. Smith gets kind of a late contest here, but by the time he's releasing the ball, it doesn't really matter. The shot's off. It's a clean look. He steps into it confidently and knocks it down. This is the type of stuff that is so important for Castle going forward because it's going to shift how teams defend him. So that was the bulk of the really impressive debut from Castle, as he showed off his ability to adapt and grow and shift his mindset within the game in a myriad of ways, especially as the kind of primary decision maker. I just want to round this video out with a couple other clips from this game and the game against Team China, where we can see some of the effectiveness from Castle, playmaking out of different areas and acting as that secondary or tertiary or just complementary decision maker and passer. So in this one, again, more of an off-ball role. It's really important that Castle continues to show his effectiveness in this role because it improves his malleability and just overall lineup versatility that the Spurs can run out there with. So defense is completely ball watching, looking for the rebound. It's Summer League. I get it. They're not worried about Castle crashing for the offensive rebound here, but he's a fantastic rebounder. He has positional size. He's a good athlete. He's incredibly strong. So why not attack the open space, reads it off the rim, secures the rebound. Now he gets to reset. Now he's shifted from being that kind of ancillary piece, outlet, tertiary at best, second side creator type guy, to now he's running the show. It's time to reset, reinitiate the offense, and he attacks. He knows that he has a strength advantage, so he just takes his defender down to the post, gets physical. As he gets down to the post, as he pivots back, he sees that Bryce McGowan's here is ball watching. He has his back turned to his defensive assignment, who is doing a really good job of relocating to the corner. Castle is reading this. He sees that he's setting up for what should be a wide open three. Splits the defense. McGowan's is clueless. Wide open three. Knocks it down. Just a really kind of fun and simple example of how effortlessly Castle can transition between being that off-ball role player into that on-ball decision maker. Here against Team China, Castle really struggled shooting. It was a poor efficiency or poor scoring game in terms of efficiency, but he was really, really excellent at leveraging and maximizing the strength advantage that he had on ball. And when we think of Castle as an on-ball creator and primary decision maker, that's one of the areas that so frequently gets looked over, is the strength advantage that he'll have on most of the opposing point guards that would have to defend him. So just a standard pick and roll, defender goes under, chases under, drop defenders doing a better job than the previous clips of kind of not affording a ton of space that Castle can just walk into. Castle's defender does a really good job here of kind of getting back in the mix and disrupting Castle, but Castle's too strong. He just kind of lowers his shoulder, shrugs off his primary defender, secures the ball through the help dig here, and goes up like he's going to take the shot, but he's just reading what the drop defender's doing. And he knows that since he shrugged off his initial defender and that the drop defender is now committing to defending the shot, his teammate is going to be left alone on the roll. Castle just shifts his release point, drops it off to his teammate, easy dunk. Again, on this one, Castle is more of kind of that off-ball role and just creates something out of nothing because of his strength advantage, his craft, his footwork, and just his patience. So as the ball kind of swings to him, middle of the shot clock, he just attacks downhill. He's decisive. They weren't able to get anything going in their first look, so he just goes. He uses his size and strength advantage, plays some bully ball, and forces his defender into the middle of the lane. What's really impressive here is not just Castle's strength, but his footwork and his craft and patience once he gets to where he wants to be. So as he pivots back middle, nice little up and under move, is able to get his defender to somewhat bite on the fake, allowing him to step through, which then pulls over the help defender. Once he elevates, that gets both of these defenders to commit. And again, Castle has no intentions of really shooting this ball unless both these defenders just completely ignore him. But he knows that the second they commit and leave the floor with him, he's just dropping this ball off to his teammate in the dunker spot, or that kind of baseline mid-range jumper, because he's wide open. Castle's entire goal here is to manipulate these two defenders to jump with him so he can set up his teammate for an easy look. It's something we've seen him do over and over and over again throughout this video. And it's really encouraging for just kind of his mindset and willingness and sense of craft and creativity going forward when we talk about him as a passer, playmaker, and just kind of decision maker. Stephon Castle has had a really strong start to his summer league. Yes, there are some issues and concerns with the scoring efficiency stuff, but it's nothing new from 2 weeks ago when the NBA draft was. He's not a great shooter right now. The mechanics aren't broken. He doesn't need to rework a shot. Just some minor tweaks here and there and a continued growth in his confidence, and he should be fine. And when I say fine, I don't mean 40+% for his career, but fine. As long as we continue to get that volume and him confidently stepping into his shots and making defenders at least think about contesting a shot, that's all that needs to happen. If he continues to pass up open looks that leads to turnovers or bad shots, that's where things start to get concerning. The big question with Castle, aside from the shooting, was, does he have any on-ball juice? And the Spurs are desperate to find that out as well. In these first two games, Castle's pick-and-roll frequency is more than double what it was last season. It's also more than double than his second most frequent play type in these two games. The Spurs are putting him in pick-and-roll situations constantly to force him to grow, adapt, and adjust in the middle of the game. They're asking a lot of him. They're putting him in uncomfortable situations. But the thing is, it's not an uncomfortable situation for Castle. Castle ran a ton of pick-and-roll in high school. He was the primary decision maker. He did play quote-unquote point guard in high school. Is he a point guard in the NBA? I don't know. I'll let you decide that. But I do know that Castle has a ton of upside as a primary or secondary decision maker. We continue to see him adjust and play chess in the middle of a game. And for a rookie to do that is really encouraging for what he'll look like 2 months from now, 8 months from now, 2 years from now. And that's what the draft is all about. That's what player development is all about. Not what they're going to look like in October, November, December of their rookie year, but what they're going to look like in year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on in their career. The Spurs are constantly patient and put their players in positions to grow and expand their game to really maximize their entire skill set. They're doing the exact same thing with Stephon Castle. Early results will probably be mixed, like they are for 90% of the rookies in NBA history. But the early signs are incredibly encouraging for who Stephon Castle will be as a player. Will he be a superstar? Who knows? Maybe. Hopefully. That'd be great for basketball if we get continue to get more all-star and all NBA level players. But at the very least, the Spurs look to have a player who reads the game at a high level, makes a simple play, and elevates the play of those around him.